there may not be very many high-level, high-profile games on Saturday in Week 13. However, there are several games, and we have one right here in Missouri at Oklahoma with playoff implications for at least one of the teams playing in the football game. Welcome into the show, everybody. We will jump right into this preview. Missouri is going to Norman, Oklahoma. If you remember last year, this game was absolutely bonkers, ladies and gentlemen. This game, I believe there were 2 touchdowns scored in its entirety in the first 55 minutes of this football game. And in the last 5 minutes of this football game, I believe there are 4 touchdowns scored, 2 of them defensive. Just absolutely nuts, absolutely bonkers way to end a football game. Are we going to get something similar on Saturday with the 2 defenses in Missouri's defense and Oklahoma's defense where they can just take over a football game for both of these football teams? We may. And before we dive into how Oklahoma can win this football game and how Missouri can win this football game, go ahead and drop down wherever you are listening on Spotify, Apple Music, YouTube. Go ahead and drop down and subscribe and go to @IanFritts on Twitter, TikTok, and Instagram and follow there as well. But without further ado, we will jump into how Missouri can win this football game. If you are new here, we talked about several things that we know about each of these football teams and then several questions we have for each of these football teams and kind of combine those and give us a script, some things they need to do in order to win this football game on Saturday. Missouri, what do we know about Missouri right now, 12 weeks into this season? Number one is that Ahmad Hardy, running back, is the best running back in the entire country. Okay, you're thinking, Ian, are you sure? Are you sure? Yeah, I'm fairly certain. I don't have any doubts about it right now, ladies and gentlemen. This man is undeniably the best running back in the entire country. He leads the country in yards, in total yards, by I believe over 150, and I believe the 2 guys behind him are at smaller schools, so sometimes that can skew it a little bit. But yeah, I believe over the next Power 4 running back, I believe he has 300 more rushing yards than the next closest guy. And sure enough, the next closest guy is actually Kawan Lacey at Ole Miss, who Ahmad Hardy is replacing when Kawan Lacey decided to transfer out of Columbia, Missouri. Ahmad Hardy is the best player on Missouri's offense. He is the best player on Missouri's team. He is hard to bring down. He gets into a pile. And somehow, some way, this man just pops out of there, and now it's a 65-yard touchdown run, okay? And that leads me into the point here for Missouri. We know he's the best running back in the entire country. Against Oklahoma, you're going to need to turn those explosive runs, those 50, 60, 70-yard runs, into touchdowns, okay? It was similar to what we said about Alabama last week. They were going to be able to have some explosive pass plays, but did those turn into touchdowns? Were those explosive touchdowns, or were they just explosive plays, okay? That's very similar to against Oklahoma this weekend, okay? You can have the occasional explosive run against Oklahoma. However, it's very rare that those explosive runs turn into touchdowns. And on a down-by-down basis, you're not just going to run it down Oklahoma's throat. Best run defense in the entire country. We'll get to that when we talk about Oklahoma. So Ahmad Hardy is going to need to have a couple breakaway, explosive touchdown runs in this football game. We know he can do it. We know he's the best running back in the entire country. If I were to ask a guy against Oklahoma's defense to have an explosive touchdown run, maybe multiple of them, I would say, hey, give me Ahmad Hardy. Let him do that. He can make you miss. He can run through tackles. He can run over guys. He can jump over them. He can maybe even he'll just jump through them. Okay, I'm not sure I've seen that, but he can do it. I wouldn't put it past Ahmad Hardy to do something we'd never seen before from a running back on Saturday. Oklahoma has struggled a little bit with their tackling the last several weeks. This is the hardest guy to tackle in the entire country. Ahmad Hardy needs to have explosive touchdowns if Missouri wants to win this football game. Number 2, I think I know that Missouri needs Beau Pribula to play this football game. I think I know that. Now, you're thinking, Ian, what? He may not even play. He's probably not going to play. There are reports swirling. Now, are those just reports? Are those just, fake reports coming out from Missouri's camp to try and get Oklahoma to prepare for Beau Pribula? Is that just, a kind of a farce, a fake out from Missouri? Or is it real? I don't care if it's fake or if it's real. I know that Missouri needs him to play because if you look at Oklahoma, the way they've struggled is with a mobile quarterback and is with off-script plays defensively, okay? Against Trinidad Chambliss. He's the most mobile quarterback maybe in the entire country, and he kind of did whatever he wanted to against Oklahoma. And it was mainly on unscripted plays. Bo Pribula is great at the unscripted play. He is also great in the quarterback run game, kind of susceptible place for Oklahoma. You need Bo Pribula in this football game if you're Missouri. Now, if he does not play, that is my biggest question for Missouri. If he is a no-go, the question is, how much do they trust Matt Zollers? Okay, freshman quarterback there for Missouri. That's a gigantic question in this football game because 2 weeks ago against Texas A&M, he was atrocious. Maybe is probably the nicest way I can put this for how he played against Texas A&M a couple weeks ago. He was 7 for 22 for 77 yards. Blah, gross. That is disgusting. That is a nasty, nasty stat line, okay? And then last week against Mississippi State, in a game that Missouri kind of did whatever they wanted offensively in the run game, they weren't great in the pass game. 8 for 15 for Zollers, 2 touchdowns, and 1 interception. That's not great either. A little better than what you did against Texas A&M, but it's not ideal. It's not ideal if you're a Missouri Tiger fan, okay? So if Bo Pribula is indeed a no-go, how much does the Missouri offense trust Matt Zollers to get it done? How much do they need him to get it done? Because if I'm Oklahoma and I'm looking at what Matt Zollers has done the past 2 weeks and I'm looking at what Ahmad Hardy has done the past 2 weeks, I'm saying I know who we need to attack and I know who we need to prepare for. It is Ahmad Hardy. We're going to put 35 guys up at the line of scrimmage and we're going to make Matt Zollers throw it to 7 wide open guys. Can he do it? He hasn't shown he can. That is what Oklahoma would do. Missouri needs to trust Matt Zollers with some easy throws. Get him some easy throws. Hey, didn't get to here. Hand it off to Ahmad Hardy 75 times a game. If he's averaging 2 yards per carry, you maybe have to switch something up. But that's the hill I would die on. I would not put this game in the hands of Matt Zollers against his Brent Venables defense. Second biggest question for Missouri in this one. Do they have success rushing the passer? Okay, so far, pretty much every game they've played, they've had success rushing the passer. 9th in the country in sack percentage during the season. I believe they are top 15 in sacks just throughout the season. But that's the discrepancy there, okay? They don't have as many sacks as some people. They don't have as many sacks as the top 10 guys, the top 5 guys like in Oklahoma, like in Texas A&M, like in Texas. But when they have chances, they are getting the quarterback on the ground. Do they have success? I believe they will need to have success at getting to John Mateer and getting him on the ground 4 sacks in this one if they want to have a chance to win. So the script for Missouri in this football game if they want to win. Number 1, Ahmad Hardy has to have explosive touchdown runs. Not just explosive runs, but they need to be explosive touchdowns, okay? Second thing, Bo Pribula needs to play this football game. Now, 3, if Bo Pribula is a no-go, if he's a no-go, Zollers needs to play better. That's just flat out. He needs to play better than he's played the last 2 weeks against Texas A&M and against Mississippi State. Now, maybe that's because the red for Mississippi State and Texas A&M is kind of similar to each other, and he was just having a bad time against Texas A&M, and he saw Mississippi State, and he's like, oh, no, this is the same team. Oklahoma's got a little bit of a different red. I'm not sure that's going to factor in, but Zollers needs to play better. And then fourthly, Missouri has to have success rushing the passer. Oklahoma is 96th in sack percentage given up. Some of those are on John Mateer, but some of them are on the offensive line. So they can get after that. They can attack there. Missouri, Hardy needs explosive touchdown runs. Bo Pribula needs to play. If he doesn't, Zollers needs to play at a higher level, and then Missouri needs to have success rushing the passer. Those are the keys for Missouri to win this football game. Oklahoma, what are the keys for the Oklahoma Sooners? Before we get to Oklahoma, I'm going to take a sip here because I'm thirsty. And when you're thirsty, you should take sips. And while I do that, go ahead and subscribe down below. Subscribe on Spotify. And then go ahead and pop open Twitter, Instagram, or TikTok at Ian Fritts Show and follow there as well. The Oklahoma Sooners. What do we know about them? We know, number 1, that the defense is elite. The defense is elite. Week in, week out, they show it. They prove it. Okay? Now, it needs to continue to be elite against Missouri, okay? And I believe they will be tested in an area where they really haven't been tested like Missouri will test them on Saturday, okay? However, you see the last couple weeks with Oklahoma against Tennessee and against Alabama. they have given up just thousands of yards passing, just thousands of yards passing. That is not the Missouri Tiger offense. That is not the offense they've had all year. That is not the offense that they have coming into this football game. It is not something that they do. They pound the rock, and they pound it well, okay? That is something Oklahoma does exceptionally well. That is something Oklahoma does exceptionally well, is defend the run. Now, you look at where Oklahoma has been susceptible on defense, even though they are an elite group, an elite unit on the field. Passing attacks, vertical passing attacks against Alabama, against Tennessee, against Ole Miss, that's where they were susceptible. Second thing, scrambling quarterbacks. That is not Missouri right now. That is not Missouri with Zollers. It's Missouri with Pabula, but it's not Missouri with Zollers. So if we get Missouri with Pabula, chances of winning go up. Again, that was a key for Missouri in this football game. So the defense needs to continue to be elite in the areas where they've been elite all year for Oklahoma. That leads into the second thing we know about OU, is that the rush defense is the best in the entire country. They're number one in yards per rush allowed at 2.3. Woo! That is nothing. That is nothing, ladies and gentlemen. It is a brick wall when you try to run against this Oklahoma defense. It needs to be that same brick wall against this Missouri Tiger rushing attack with Ahmad Hardy and the other guys they have in the backfield. It is not just Ahmad Hardy. They have another running back who can get it done. Kind of a change of pace guy, maybe a quicker guy. He can have a day. If maybe there's a hole in the brick wall, maybe you make a substitution for Oklahoma. Maybe Oklahoma's late getting a call out there. And boom, now it's a 50-yard touchdown run. Oklahoma cannot have that happen. They need to be elite in areas where they've been elite, especially against the run. Biggest question for Oklahoma on Saturday. What do we get from the offense? What does OU get from the offense on Saturday? Because quite frankly, they've been getting virtually nothing from the offense the last couple games against Tennessee and Alabama. It has been atrociously bad, I would say. Kind of like Zoller's play, but better than Zoller's. I'm not sure you can get really worse than the last two games he's had out there. But from what it was earlier in the season, the vertical passing attack has virtually disappeared since Mateer got his surgery. Makes sense. Mateer's had surgery, but you got to still threaten with that down the field. Even if you don't connect, you got to attempt to connect so you can get Missouri to lighten the box so you can run this football on this Missouri Tiger football team. The second thing, biggest question for Oklahoma. Kicker, Tate Sandell, best kicker in the entire country. He's made 21 straight field goals. He's 7 for 7 from 50 plus. The record in the entire history of college football is 8 made field goals of 50 plus in a season. Okay, he's one away. We still got 2 games left. He cannot miss. Does he miss is the question. Does Tate Sandell miss a kick in this football game? With the way Oklahoma plays offensively, you cannot afford a missed field goal in this game. So the keys, the script for Oklahoma to win this football game. Number one, the defense needs to continue to be elite in the areas where they've been elite. They don't, kind of where Oregon can run the ball effectively against USC. They need to continue to run the ball well. Oklahoma needs to continue to stop the run well if they want to win this football game. It needs to be a strength. It's a strength coming in. It needs to be a strength on Saturday. If you got the muscles, you need to flex the muscles, okay, ladies and gentlemen? You got them, you got to flex them. You can't just have them and then just let them be there. Flex those muscles if you're an Oklahoma Sooner on Saturday. The third thing, the offense needs to score 2+ touchdowns. I think they need to score at least 14 points worth of touchdowns, and then they will have several field goals on top of that, and I think that can be enough to win this football game for Oklahoma. And the fourth thing kind of ties right into that. Tate Sandell cannot miss a kick in this football game. If he does, it will be detrimental to Oklahoma's hopes of winning. My pick for this game, give me the Missouri Tigers to cover the 7.5, but give me Oklahoma to win this football game with their playoff hopes still live. Missouri, nice season. Thanks for coming out to Norman, Oklahoma on Saturday morning. But Oklahoma, everything is in front of you now. You are 1 win away from hosting a playoff game in the College Football Playoff 2025 edition. Thanks so much for tuning in, everybody. If you wouldn't mind, go ahead and subscribe down below. Follow at Ian Fritts Show on Twitter, TikTok, and Instagram. I love you guys.
Whoa, he has trouble with the snap, and the ball is free. It's picked up by Michigan State. Jalen Watts 45, 40, 45, 50,